Hello, everyone. You're listening to Game Rivals, a podcast where a Nintendo fan and a PlayStation fan talk about the latest games and happenings in the gaming community and industry. I'm one of your hosts, Maximilian X, and together with Sean Templar, we bring you this bi weekly podcast about video games. Hey guys, Maximilian X here on the top of the episode with a special message from the team. We made a survey to gauge what people think of game rivals. Please fill this in as it will help us make the content that you would enjoy. The link for this is in the description for the episode, or you can find the link also on our Twitter, which is at game_rivals_. Thank you for your attention, and now back to the main episode. And welcome back to another episode of Game Rivals. I am your host, Maximilian X, and I'm sitting here with my fellow co host and legendary guy, Sean Templar. How's it going, Sean?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I got a little bit more rest, so it's been a busy couple of days, but now I got some low time, and we can do another podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, let's just cut to it. This is going to be the news round. It's going to be a hefty one. And you know what? Let's just start with our favorite topic. And when I say favorite, I mean least favorite. Google Stadia.
Yay! We
It's
really need a jingle for this because we need to give it its own segment if we keep doing
Yes,
this.
it does, because I think we're going to be talking about it a couple of more times over the next months.
It comes out in 3 days, so
Yeah, it comes out very soon, and oh boy, there's a lot of controversy going around now, like even more so than before. Let's start with actually the more recent stuff after the last time we recorded the podcast, which is, I think
the
maybe it was,
launch
but I'm not.
lineup.
Yeah, the launch lineup, just 12 games.
So for what is it? The premiere or the founders edition, 130, 150 bucks you
Yeah,
pay?
so the founders slash premier edition is basically just so that you can play the game now, or play the games now in quotes, um, and it comes with the controller that
Chromecast Ultra,
wirelessly will
blah
get
blah.
to it,
I think our audience by now knows
connect
what's in it.
yeah, it has the ultracast, it's Chromecast Ultra or whatever you call it, and the controller. And well, so 12 games starting from the 19th. Most of them are games that are already out, which makes sense because the Google Stadia development team only recently started actually working on games, and the studio head, um, Jade Raymond, was talking about like actual games specifically made for the service probably will be out. Bless you, for years.
Thank you.
She said years.
Yeah. Um yeah.
And the games that are on here, three of them, by the way, are the Tomb Raider games, like all three of them.
Yeah, which are basically pretty old games.
Yeah. You have Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is a fine game, fine game.
But then again,
It's
that's
also
an
the game that they
also
used to test the
yeah,
service.
so it's kind of a recycled game.
Yeah. Destiny 2, of course, like the complete version, comes with the Stadia Pro subscription. So if you have the Founders Edition or the Premier Edition, you have Destiny 2. Whoopee. It supports Guild, Just Dance 2020, okay, Kine, Mortal Kombat 11, Red Dead Redemption 2, also a good game, Samurai Showdown, which is recently new since it came out this summer, Thumper, which is an old indie game, um,
I'm going to interrupt you right now because I am reading something right now that just blows my mind.
which is
Stadia will not work on Chromecast you already own right away. Only the
That
Ultra that comes with the Stadia Founders Edition. Other Chromecasts will be patched to work sometime after launch. Are you
ah
kidding
you
me?
you got ahead of me, man. You buried the
I'm
lead.
sorry. I just
I was
like
about to get to
I
that point,
just see
man.
I see this and I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't care about that list with launch games. I mean, this is a big deal, man. What if I already own a Chromecast Ultra and I
Well, you got to be patient. That's the
what?
answer. You got to be patient.
Hey man, I'm done with this stuff. I don't care about Stadia anymore. I mean, come on, man.
You haven't even like that. That is not even the worst it gets. Like apart
There's
from these games,
I have a
and
list in
apart
front
from
of me.
this,
I have a list in front of me with a shitload of features that will not be available at launch, which they
thank
did
you.
say they
And
were going to show
that's the
up.
big deal with it.
What
That's the big
the
deal with it.
hell is going on?
So other than the whole fact that you can't use a Chromecast Ultra that you already own because the update is not available yet, certain things like for example, remember how the Founders Edition comes with a 3-month buddy pass?
It's not working.
It's not being sent out until weeks later.
It says here 2 weeks after launch.
On top of that, you have certain features that don't work. So, probably one of the biggest features that is important to them, since they're Google and they own YouTube, the feature that allows YouTubers to play with their fans is also not available at launch.
It comes out in 2020, sometime in 2020.
Exactly, even though they said it's one of the features that would be there.
Yep. Same
And the
goes
feature,
for the achievement system. Is also not there on launch.
well, it registers the achievements, but it does not pling.
I want a pling. You know how satisfying a pling is? I
I don't
mean,
know because I mostly play on my Switch,
well, you're missing out on the pling.
and even when I get achievements on my PlayStation 4, I'm like, okay,
They're called trophies, and
trophies.
the pling is really satisfying.
Yeah,
I
I
like
mean,
the pling.
there are people that like the trophy slash achievement system, and there are some that don't. So yeah.
Yeah, just this is
Um,
just blowing my mind.
what else? What was the other thing that's on there? Because there's like another thing that's missing
It
there.
says something
Oh,
about
right.
family link.
Yeah. So, um, essentially, the ability to play multiplayer
It's not there.
is not there.
Yep.
And the ability, so you know that they also had this thing where if you're watching like a specific clip of a video game and you want to jump right in there,
I
that it
know.
jumps in and you can pick up where that footage left off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not there yet either. I
So
don't remember what the
basically,
I don't remember what that feature is called, but that's not there either. That's also
I'm
coming
paying
later.
a lot of money to get access to, as I said again, a huge server, beefed up server, so I can play games in max fidelity. I still have to buy the game, and on top of that,
Except if you have Stadia Pro, you only have one game,
I
which
don't
is
care about
Destiny 2.
Destiny. I really couldn't care less. I mean, come on, it's a free to play game partially. Um, so I still have to buy a game, and yes, Red Dead Redemption 2 is available on Stadia, which makes it kind of interesting. Did I not know that the PC version apparently of Red Dead Redemption is suffering from a lot of performance issues? So I
Hmm.
genuinely wonder how it's going to run on Stadia. But all I'm getting right now is red flags. It's not even
It's not
convincing.
even out yet.
Yeah, it's not even out yet, and there's so many red flags. I'm like, there's no possible way, or there's no way in hell I want to try this because it's all no, 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 no. The only thing is, can I take your money? Yes. Do you have to pay a shitload of money to even play the service? Yes.
Here's the thing that I don't get. If they wanted to do something like beta test, then beta test,
Yeah, man.
Don't take people's money for it.
Yeah.
Don't do weird stuff. Don't overpromise, because when you overpromise,
This is what
this is what
happens.
happens when you can't deliver.
I genuinely wonder how many people are actually gonna be, and I hope Google announces their sales figures for this. But I'm genuinely curious to see how many people are actually gonna use this.
I don't think I sent you the link for this, but they had a Reddit AMA
Yeah.
like this past week, and like some of the answers in there that even people that work for Google that ordered their own founders edition with their own money aren't getting it on the 19th.
How is that possible? You work at the company and
But for some reason, because of course they want to promote it, reviewers are getting review copies of this thing
for free.
for free.
Or
It's sponsored, of course,
yeah,
so
but
it's
like I mean your own employees are probably your biggest promoters. Come on, man.
you would think so, wouldn't you?
As you would say, I assume so.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense because everybody's gonna look at most people look towards, and especially the audience that they're going after is probably gonna look towards YouTubers testing it out.
Yeah.
And the one feature that would make sense for the YouTubers to test out is not even available at launch.
I I just want
I
to
don't. At this point, either I don't know why they did not just delay this. Like it would
yeah.
have been
Yeah, definitely.
so easy to delay it, and
Yeah.
either again, as I said before, just go for like a closed beta, open beta, whatever kind of beta you need
Yeah.
to test these stuff, so that you can put it all out in one go
And bring it out in
instead of
like
piecemealing it.
do it in February or March because generally we don't have a lot of game releases then. So that way you're coming out in a pretty quiet period and you can get all the attention on it. People can try it out. There's a lot of games that are out there. Maybe if you're lucky, you can get the holiday exclusives or the holiday blockbuster titles on your service. And
Yeah,
it's just it makes so much sense to do it that way instead of the way they're doing around now. It feels like a really rushed launch and
because it is.
yeah, I mean, I was genuinely, I really thought that when they launched this stuff is gonna have like 50 games or something like that because they
Yeah,
were constantly talking about all the different developers that are on board and the studios and the companies and whatnot, and then you just see 12 games. When I saw that, I was completely shocked and like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't pre-order that premiere or whatever it's called edition.
oh man, seriously, man, we were this close, weren't we?
Oh my god.
Oof, that would have been a waste because we probably wouldn't have gotten it on the 19th. We would have
Yeah.
probably gotten it weeks after,
Yep.
and even then, the only game we can legitimately play would be Destiny 2
Yeah, because I'm not
without
buying
buying
these.
other
Yeah, I'm
games.
not gonna buy something. As I said earlier, I am willing to try Cyberpunk 2077 because that way I know like it's the max I can get out of it from a settings point of view, from a visual fidelity point of view. But now I genuinely wonder if the game is gonna come out at launch or months after it's gonna come out on Stadia.
Well, I don't think that that they would delay the launch of it on Stadia. What I'm more curious about is either A, it comes out as part of Stadia Pro, which means you don't have to buy it,
Well, they're never gonna
or
do that.
B, you have to buy it.
You probably have to buy it.
On top, of course, the $10 a month you're paying for Stadia Pro.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
think the make or break moment for Stadia Pro is going to be the games they offer for free every month. I mean, you see it with PlayStation Plus, and I believe the Xbox games with gold is the best example. Xbox Game
Hmm.
with Gold gives you AAA games every month.
Yeah.
Whereas PlayStation Plus has its ups and downs. Some months it gets you the greatest games that are out there, and some months it gives you these weird indie titles that personally I couldn't care less about. And then I'm just not downloading anything that month. But for example, the last 2 months, this month we got Neo, the Dark Souls kind of samurai game from Koei
Yeah.
Tecmo, which is really
Yeah.
good.
Looking forward to that one.
Yeah, we got last month we got The Last of Us remastered. So
Hmm.
there are some really, really good blockbuster titles in there, but it's sometimes it's hit and miss. And I think Microsoft does this really well. And I think Google should take an example out of that and give us blockbuster games in that Stadia Pro every month so it's at least worth the $10. Otherwise, people just gonna cancel their subscription.
Yeah, but for $10, I'd rather, and I know that I'm going to get flack for this. I'd rather just go on my PC, open the Epic Game Launcher, and see what games they have for free.
Yeah,
Because they have
yeah,
a game for free every month, and you don't have to pay them for it.
oh, that's even better. Or you can get Xbox Game Pass for $1 a month and then use it on the
And do
PC and
it.
play all the AAA first party games such as Outer Worlds or I don't know, Forza Horizon or
Astroneer,
Halo, Astroneer, Gears of War.
and some other stuff that we're going to be talking about later.
Yeah,
But here's the fun part. Apparently, Steam is also working on something like a Stadia
yeah, I know.
service. But there's not a lot of detail about it, and Steam hasn't said anything about it officially, so it's mostly just speculation
It feels kind of like
brought
they're
on
late to
about
the
data
game
mining.
because I would have
But
expected them to do this years
years ago,
ago. Yeah.
well, considering that Gabe Newell's probably rolling around in the pile of money that they make every month on Steam sales, it probably never occurred to them. Much like it doesn't occur to them to make games again. I'm not even gonna go further into that whole Steam does not make games again because that just makes me depressed.
Yeah.
But yeah, them moving into that space makes all the sense in the world if what they're going to do is essentially the same thing that Stadia is going to do. The only pro point on that is that people have a big giant library of Steam games,
Yep.
so allowing them to play it anywhere on any device.
That
I
would be
mean,
nice.
you have Steam Link, and you kind of can do that, but having something way more with a better, higher fidelity, and that does not rely on your own PC
Yeah.
for Steam would be flipping great
If they can
because
go
people already
the
buy games off there and they have all those cool discounts.
Yeah, they can go the Nvidia route. Nvidia does that with their GeForce Now, that you just log in with your Steam account and it can check your purchases, and based on that, it just allows you to play those games. I mean, give me that option. Give me
Hmm.
like rent a game server and use it to play your Steam library. I would love that
Yeah.
instead of rent a game server and buy the games. Oh wait, that's called Stadia. Jeez. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that would be awesome, especially since EA Access is also
Coming to Steam.
coming to Steam. So who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of the unexpected, well, at least unexpected to us, Microsoft had their fan fest again, Microsoft XO,
Yep.
in London
Yep.
this week, and that kind of blew past me because something else way more important came out.
Oh.
Nah, just kidding, just kidding.
You just had
So
to
yeah,
catch them all.
they we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But yeah, they had like a bunch of games that they announced there, and from developers that they just recently acquired.
Yeah.
So let me see. Do you have the list in front of you as well?
Yeah, so Rare announced a game called Everwild. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like this beautiful I just said, like, it gives me this beautiful, colorful Horizon Zero Dawn vibe. Instead of mechanical creatures, there are real creatures in there, kinda like fantasy dinosaur-y kinda creatures. I have
Yeah.
no idea what the game is about. It just looks really nice.
Did they? Only saw the trailer too, so I don't like. I know as much as you do.
Yeah,
Oh, not much is known about the new friend. Yeah,
no.
so not a lot is known about it, but it looks really cool.
Yeah,
It's kind of like a cross between Horizon Zero Dawn and what was that Far Cry game that came out? The one Primal.
Primal? Yeah,
Yeah, kind of reminds me of that a little bit too, but less so, um, but less violent.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you see them like stalking a prey, like a violent prey, and also communing with nature, kind of, sort of, while they're trying to pet this weird space deer that kind of looks like a Pokemon. No, seriously, it literally looks like a Pokemon like design.
You mean the one that
Um,
opens its ears, kinda turns into horns?
yeah, it kind of looks like Xerneas. Like if you've played Pokemon X and Y, you'll know which one I'm talking about.
I haven't played those games.
But that's fine.
Yeah, and,
Um,
they announced,
The Outer Worlds developers, Obsidian Games,
yeah.
they uh they made Honey I Shrunk the Kids the video game. I mean, it's not called that, but if you look at the trailer and the setting of the game, it's called Grounded. It's literally just the player as like a little kid that has been shrunk down to insect size, as it were, and you're roaming around in some dude's backyard, exploring it like it's like it's some kind of strange planet with giant ants coming after you and other kinds of bugs, and everything is huge and scary. It can squish you or eat you or drown you.
I'm not into that kind of game.
The gameplay is first person. It kind of reminds me of the Metroid Prime series, to be honest, because it has that secluded, because you're the only human, of course. There, it has that kind of isolated feel, kind of like Alien. Looks cool.
Yeah,
Then you have Ninja Theory's new game called Bleeding Edge. It kind of reminds me of another game's aesthetically. Aesthetically, I'm just like talking about the aesthetics now because I haven't seen that one's trailer yet. But
they showed it off at E3. Um, it looks like
wait, they did?
a multiplayer combat game. I didn't really thought. I really thought
Oh,
like, hey,
now
for
I
the people
remember. Yeah, they
behind,
did show it off at
yeah,
E3.
but it was such a strange game, and I thought, well, for the people that did Heavenly Sword and Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, this is a strange game to make after that. But yeah, whatever. I mean, they said that it's a game they wanted to do for a really long time. Um,
Yeah.
I don't
Don't
know.
forget they did that Journey to the West inspired game. What is it called? Enslaved.
Enslaved, yeah, which
They
was
also
a
did
really
that
good
as
game.
well.
Yeah,
So
and this
yeah, so
game
they're
reminds me a lot of Overwatch, but like a really poor version.
it kind of, yeah, it's a team based shooter. Now I remember now I remember what that one was, like a really weird funkadelic team based shooter, kind of like Overwatch.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll see.
I,
It's coming out March 24th, 2020.
yeah, and there's gonna be a
So it
beta.
has a date now. And indeed, the closed beta is on February 14th on Valentine's Day.
Well, maybe people
Okay,
don't want to
sure.
celebrate Valentine's Day.
I
They want
guess.
to do some multiplayer shooting with their girlfriends or boyfriends.
Hmm, maybe.
But Age of Empires, on the other hand,
Yes. I'm sorry,
ah,
but I haven't played an Age of Empires game in so long. I am starving for a new one. I mean, I know that they've put out the definitive editions of one and two is available starting from today, but
oh, they showed
I
a
need
gameplay
myself
trailer
some.
for 4, and it looked so incredible.
Oh man, that probably needs like a really beefy system to play on.
I don't know. And the cool
Uh,
part is because Age of Empires 4 is being made by Relic Entertainment, the people
mm-hmm,
behind Company of Heroes and the Warhammer strategy games.
mm-hmm,
And apparently, there's a new studio within Microsoft, or at least a studio Microsoft working together with, called
mm-hmm.
World's Edge, and they're dedicated to the future of the Age of Empires franchise.
Okay,
So who
that
knows? We might get extra stuff after this.
I I hope so, man.
Yeah,
Because you know what it is, we don't have a lot of strategy games anymore like this.
yeah.
Even on PC, it's just either old strategy games that are on there, or the strategy games on there are just bad.
What I've noticed is that there's not a lot of triple A strategy games out there anymore. But
Exactly,
if you go
exactly.
onto something like Steam, for example, you can find a bunch of strategy games, but it's all from either indie developers or smaller studios or publishers you might not have heard of.
Yeah.
And some of them are really great, but generally with the strategy games we're used to, it was always that there was this huge marketing campaign around it, and
Hmm,
you
hmm.
knew about it, such as Company of Heroes or Warhammer or The Lord of the Rings, made by EA, the Battle for Middle Earth franchise, or Red Alert or Command and
I
Conquer.
still blame first person shooters for those, by the way, for killing off like a lot of like lesser in quotes genres.
I don't know. I mean, isn't it could be one of those? For example, a while we had, if a first-person shooter came out, it was always a second World War shooter. And
Hmm.
then we kind of, after Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, we transitioned to either a Modern Warfare era or a future
Or
setting.
future.
But isn't RTS games kind of like that? That it was just a specific kind of genre or game, and that just people transitioned away from it because, yeah, people were kind of done with that kind of game. And now that if like something like this
The thing
comes
is,
out,
there wasn't a lot of there wasn't a lot of evolution being done in the genre for
yeah.
that one, and I guess that's part of the reason why it died off. The last thing that you could say that the one series that prevailed up until this day is still the Civilization series.
Yeah, and Anno of Anno made by Ubisoft.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that that still is still a thing. Oh, and of course the Total War series.
Yeah, I got Anno together with my SSD that I bought for my new computer a while back. So I had
Hmm.
this deal that gave it to for free. I played it for an hour or three or something, and it really reminded me of this old strategy game I used to play way back, and it felt so similar that I could quickly get into it, and it was really nice. And I honestly, when I think about it now, I don't know why I never went back to play it. But I, when I was playing it at the time, it was at the same time I was playing Total War Three Kingdoms,
Wasn't it because your PC died?
kinda, but also because I was playing Total War Three Kingdoms, which, by the way, I
Yeah.
haven't played for a while. Maybe because China has grown larger and doesn't need to. Well, anyways,
Yeah.
I can't
Okay.
go
Moving
back into
on.
that. Yeah, this one was
This
really
one.
nice.
This one is interesting.
Yeah,
From the Life is Strange developers, Don't Nod,
I haven't
comes a
seen the
new
trailer.
game for Xbox exclusively called Tell Me Why, which has what they say is the first transgender protagonist.
Ooh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, so the one of the main characters that you play as is part of a twin, and he's a transgender person. And he's also portrayed or I think the voice actor, yeah, the voice actor for the character is also a transgender male. So
Wow. Okay, that's pretty
yeah,
groundbreak. I wouldn't. Is it groundbreaking or is it?
it's it's new.
It's new.
It's representation being met by a person from that community.
Yeah.
So it's getting a lot of praise for that. So
I think it's a matter of time before we kind of accept it and kind of get it, which is good. I mean, we need
yeah,
these things to make progress in the world.
yeah.
As we're having it in movies, why shouldn't we not have it in games?
Yeah, movies are still kind of dropping the balls here and there. Like, I don't want to remind people of Ghost in the Shell, but that's a thing. Like
But
the
that's
movie,
whitewashing. That's something different, right?
yeah, but that's still like representation not being met.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah,
Yeah.
and also whitewashing is also a form of not meeting representation. So
Yeah. Sea of
moving
Thieves is
on, Sea
getting
of Thieves is getting
update.
new content, which one I'm surprised that Sea of Thieves is still alive, but then again, I'm not an Xbox player, so I don't know how big the community is there. But if it's getting more content, then that means that it has at least a viable player base for them to keep supporting it, which is cool.
Yeah.
Because when it came out, I honestly didn't think it would survive.
It's in Game Pass, and I've seen it pop up a couple of times, but I've never actually had the feeling that I wanted to try it out. So yeah, maybe you should just try it out.
Yeah,
When it was first announced, it really looked fun at E3, but when the reviews came
it
out, it
looked
kind of
interesting.
was
Yeah,
bomb.
it looked like a rare game. I mean, it still looks like a rare game, and the humor is there, but I don't know. I guess I have to play it to find out what the appeal is. I guess. Um, Other than that, the Halo Master Chief Collection is getting a PC release,
Yep,
and it features Halo Reach now
yep.
because that was not in there previously.
It's coming out on December
Um,
3rd.
yep, for $40, and if you don't want the Master Chief Collection, you just want to play Halo Reach on your PC, it's $10.
And it's also coming to Game Pass, I believe.
Yeah.
Booyah!
And then there are a bunch of other games coming to uh Game Pass. Like they announced like 50 other games,
Such as Rage
of
2.
which, by the way, are a bunch of Final Fantasy games. To be specific, they're bringing Final Fantasy 12: The Zodiac Age, which is the HD remake of Final Fantasy 12, Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 8, and oh wait, the whole Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, which, your mileage may vary on those games. But the fact that those games are coming and they're probably bringing out even more games eventually is, yeah, kind of crazy because a lot of this stuff has been locked to either PlayStation or the PC or Switch. So now it's finally coming to Xbox. So good on them, and it's coming in Game Pass. So you can just there is if you have Game Pass, you have literally no excuse to say that you don't have a game to play.
Yeah.
Like if you're bored, whether you own an Xbox or you own a PC, you have like zero excuse to say you don't have any good games to play because this Xbox Game Pass is probably the best thing that Microsoft has ever done, bar none. Like bar none. Like even like I mean, I don't own an Xbox. I mean, the only Xbox I ever owned was an Xbox 360, and I'll tell you this right now: if games for gold existed back in the 360 days, I'd probably be still buying Xbox systems.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's a good deal. I mean, I don't have to do it now because I own a PC and I can just get the Game Pass for my PC and do it like that, like I did for Astroneer,
Which is a great game.
which is a great game, which is also coming to Switch and PS4.
It's already on PS4.
Oh right, it's already out.
Yeah.
Dang it, staggered releases.
Oh well.
Oh well.
They
Yeah.
also
So.
did some updates around xCloud. So
Hmm.
they're bringing 50 more games to the xCloud service, including games such as Devil May Cry or Madden, if you want. They're also going to expand it in the upcoming year to other countries in Western Europe.
Cool.
So that's
Cool.
going to be nice.
Yeah.
And get this, I did not expect this. xCloud now also supports the DualShock 4 controller. So you're not tied to an Xbox One controller.
Okay, but that. Okay,
That's a
one,
really
that's
nice
really cool.
move. Yeah.
That's really cool. And two, it makes sense for two reasons. One, if you have a smartphone,
Yeah.
you can connect these controllers already by default.
Yeah.
So it like the xCloud app or whatever they're gonna do for like smart devices, not supporting either or would have been really weird.
Hmm.
So it's good that they're adding that feature. That's really good.
Yeah.
Um, dang, that Microsoft is doing everything right.
I think
And now
they
I'm
want
starting
to.
to get more and more curious about the Scarlet and seeing how that's gonna be like.
Yeah, they didn't show anything about that, but they did say that um, they're going to make sure that pricing for Scarlet is not going into say in the same area as what they did with the Xbox One. So they definitely learned from that. So
Yeah,
that
but is it gonna go into the territory of the Xbox One X?
well, the One X and the One were both 499.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they kind of learned from it and that they're going to aim for something below 499,
449.
maybe 449. I think that's a realistic price, or maybe 399. I don't know.
I
Um,
I don't think so, man.
I don't. Yeah, I don't think so
Like
as well.
for
But
I'm not just talking about Scarlet. I'm also talking about the PlayStation 5 in this regard. There is no way I can see either of those two systems coming out at 399 without them um taking the plunge and taking the dive on production costs.
I think, to be honest, I was thinking about this the other day, and by the time the new Xbox and PlayStation come out, the components inside will already be outdated because they're both based on Zen 2, which is out right
Hmm.
now. They're both going to have SSDs, which sounds expensive, but when you look up your average SSD pricing, it's really, really cheap these days.
Well, well, to be fair, with the SSD part, don't forget that Sony and I'm assuming Microsoft are both doing this weird thing that it's directly connected to the system, so it's for the quicker access.
Yeah.
So that probably means that they're putting something proprietary in there.
Yeah, but
And
if you look at they have to
oh,
buy it in bulk. I mean, they buy that in bulk, meaning they can cut down the price on SSDs that way. And as for example, graphics technology, yes, the GPUs in it support hardware-based ray tracing. AMD at this moment does not have a video card out there that supports it, but by the time the new PlayStation and Xbox come out, they will have released a GPU containing that power. So, like for now, because it's not out yet, it's bleeding edge. But by the time it comes out, it will be outdated, meaning that the price on those components will one have gone down, and two, because they buy it in such huge quantities, they probably will get it at a good price, meaning they could maybe offer it at 399.
I don't know. I
And
mean, maybe,
historically,
kinda. I don't know. Like, you know, okay, let's say it does,
yeah.
and they break even on it if they sell it for 399.
Now, the
Then at
funny
least
thing
that's
is,
something.
Sony has historically always lost money on the console. They've been open about this. They always said we sell our console at a loss because we don't make money from the hardware sale. We make money from the software sale. And if you look at what the industry is going towards, the industry is slowly moving into a services based model in which they sell you either a service in which you have something like a PlayStation Plus, or on top of that you have a PlayStation Now, or you get Xbox Live Gold and you get Game Pass. So they sell you all these additional services, or they sell you one game and then they build a live service around the game, and then they either sell you the expansion pack or they do microtransactions. So the days of you paying $60 for a game and then the company's getting only your initial $60, I think is over. So because we're transitioning towards a services model, they get more money on a regular base than a big amount of money in one go. So that might also make it easier for them to take the loss, because they're like, hey, we might lose money when we sell you this console, but we make it back tenfold because we sell you PlayStation Plus and Now and this and that, and we sell you that subscription and we give you this and you buy this. And then if they do a math calculation, they probably think, hey, at the end of the day, we still come up out of on top. So we don't
Okay.
lose actually. That's the reason. At least that looks like plausible reasoning.
True, that looks indeed like plausible reasoning. I mean, only time will tell in this regard. I actually missed something when speaking about the PlayStation 5. I just sent you the link through the Zen thing. But basically, a patent showed up a while ago. There was a nerf.
Yeah, I saw it.
There
Yeah,
was unearthed from, I think, the Brazilian patent office, by a Dutch gaming website, and they made mock-ups of it. And basically, what this is people think, or at least they think, that these are going to be like proprietary SSD hard drives that you plop into the PlayStation 5 to expand the storage capacity. Because since the SSD is hotwired into the system, you can't remove it to upgrade it, and it's a special system for them to do it. So yeah, I mean, it's not like they haven't done this before. I mean, look at PlayStation Vita. Look at that one, because that one had very specific, like, super tiny memory cards that you put in,
yeah,
which were not cheap, by the way,
yep,
and never got cheap, even though the system went out of style.
yep.
So I never owned one.
A
So they're
Vita?
probably super expensive on the used market. Yeah,
Oh, that's too bad. I still have a Vita.
yeah. So that really is disappointing. But yeah, I mean, if they do this, that's another way to recoup the money, because it's a proprietary SSD that you have to buy if you want to upgrade
Storage.
the storage space.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
So
I
if I
think.
mean, considering if that's truly the case, we don't know yet. It's a patent. Patents are made all the time, and
Yeah,
sometimes, and most of the times, nothing comes out of it. So
yeah,
who knows?
yeah.
But these are the same guys that unearthed the patent on the developer kit for the PlayStation 5. So
Okay. Oh, they have a good track record then.
yeah, so far.
Yeah. Um. On another note, because otherwise we're gonna do like a really long news segment for people. Anthem is in the last episode we mentioned that the live director or the live lead for
Yeah,
Anthem
the
went
live lead.
away. There's
Yeah,
an
second
article.
one, by the
Yeah,
way.
the second one. Yeah, and so there's an
Mhm.
article that surfaced on Kotaku, is telling about that internally at BioWare they are working really hard on Anthem 2.0, as they say, or
Which
Anthem Next.
one? That just wow!
I didn't
Did not
expect that.
expect that.
Yeah, that's good that they're doing that. But
I mean, it's yeah, it's better than good. It's great. It means that they haven't given up on the game, which is
yeah,
honestly something that we were both dreading.
mm-hmm.
Because if they gave up on Anthem, that means that something major might happen to Bioware.
Yeah,
And if they're going to overhaul Anthem and basically pull No Man's Sky, yo, more power to them.
yeah,
Because if they can pull that off, they might actually be able to bring back, not only maintain the player base that they have, but actually bring people back in, like
yep,
No Man's Sky did.
yeah. Yeah, they're
So,
they're looking at an overhaul of almost everything.
oh,
So
they have to.
gameplay systems, progression, loot systems. They want to overhaul a lot, and they're still checking on how to do it. So they either bring it out as an expansion, kind of like what Destiny did with the Taken
Mhm.
King, or they just bring it out as a big content update. But they have been working on it for a couple of months now, and there's 3 studios inside of BioWare that's working on it instead of one. So that's great news. I kind of
What does that mean for Dragon Age 4?
I don't know if it's in full
I'm saying that
production
right?
or
It's
in.
not 3, right? 3 already
Yeah, it's
came
4.
out,
Yeah,
right? Yeah,
I don't
4.
know if 4 is in pre-production or in production, but um, yeah, they're really tight-lipped on that. That's still happening, but yeah, I I kind of hope they just do this when Anthem's 1 year anniversary comes around, which is I believe in February or March.
Yeah.
So I kind of hope
That's
that they
pretty
do it
soon.
there.
I would say take your time.
Yeah, yeah, they've apparently been working on it for months, but yeah, you never know.
Still take your time.
Yeah.
Which also I'm kind of curious if they are gonna hit because apparently work is still being done on Dragon Age 4 and a new Mass Effect game is in pre-production in their Edmonton office. So
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to wait and see, but it's hopeful news. I'm really happy to see that it's happening. So,
Mm-hmm.
and the last one is an unexpected one. Is that Shuhei Yoshida, the head of Worldwide Studios at Sony, is stepping down. He's not leaving the company. He's
Mm-hmm.
gonna oversee a new division inside of Sony Computer Entertainment, which works with local communities slash local indie developers to help them create new IPs, which is a really great
Yep.
initiative. And his replacement is our Dutchie Herman Hulst, who was
Whoop whoop.
president of Guerrilla Games, the guys behind Horizon Zero Dawn and Killzone. And he,
Mm-hmm.
effective immediately, he is overseeing the 14 worldwide studios of Sony. So that's great news.
This also, of course, including the company that he co-founded.
Yeah, definitely.
So, no bias.
Hey, let the man be
Yeah.
biased, man. I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn is an awesome game. You know I'm right. I mean, you played it.
I played it. I know it's awesome.
Yeah,
It's
so
awesome.
hey man, if we get Horizon Zero Dawn 2, which we'll probably do get, let the man
I
be
mean, that was
biased. I
pretty
don't
obvious.
mind. Yeah. If it
But
gets us
yeah, I
good
mean,
games.
I'm I'm legit curious how that happened. Like, I mean, there are also rumors going around that there has been this weird power struggle mostly pertaining around the launch of the PlayStation 5 and how that is being handled and it's still kind of weird that this big shakeup is going on in Sony's entertainment division.
Mhm.
And part of me is like I'm grateful. Like I'm sure that Herman will do the best job that he possibly can. But a lot of it also is kind of weird that it's happening at such a fast pace and in such a weird order.
I get that. I read an article the other day, and I'll share it with you, with Jim Ryan, who is the head of Sony Computer Entertainment right now, and
Did you know
he's
how he called him? He didn't call him a Dutch person. He called him European.
yeah.
This guy is
um,
weird.
the funny thing is the dude himself is European because he's from the UK.
Oh man.
Um,
Like apparently he does this more often than not. Like he refers to people in a weird way.
yeah. I I remember when he first started showing up at these press events at Sony at Gamescom, for example. He
Mm,
would host one of those media briefings. When he would talk, he was always raise his hands in a really strange way when talking. So it really would distract his story. That he would tell something really cool, and he would just wave his hands in the most strangest ways. And like, dude, stop moving your hands. Just I don't know, grab something and keep your hands down, man. It's really distracting. It's like a wrong use of body language, of body's language or signs or whatever.
yeah.
Anyways, he kind of gave more context around what's happening and why there's a lot of shakeup in Sony. And he
Mm,
basically said that traditionally Sony has been a company that has approached everything from a regional point of view. So they
mm,
have Sony Computer Entertainment Europe and America and Japan, and each region had its own approach, its own marketing campaign. It was a lot of individualized areas. So what they've
mm,
done now is they've kind of consolidated everything into one global Sony Computer Entertainment, and they make a lot more decisions directly and faster. So, for example, normally the PlayStation gets developed by their hardware engineering team in Japan, and to
mm,
talk to those guys, there are a lot of teams that are involved. So what they've done now is they've taken away all the clutter, and they created easier ways to get those teams talking. So instead of having multiple teams working on the PlayStation, they just have one team working on the PlayStation, and that team is accessible by a lot of people, so they can get a lot more faster and direct feedback instead of that the teams are doing stuff without them knowing it from each other, for example. And for example, with marketing campaigns, they have global strategies right now. And they're working on global strategies. And I believe the campaign for Spider Man was the first one that had a
mhm,
global approach. So it was the same strategy in all regions,
mhm,
which works better because then they don't have to spend a lot of money and they don't have to tailor it. And for certain games, they will still do the regional approach because certain games have more appeal in certain areas or in certain countries, such as
makes
a
sense.
game for Japan, for example. But they have taken away all this hierarchy around all these divisions being separated, and they've kind of created a one Sony Computer Entertainment, which allows them to make easier and quicker decisions and to play more into trends instead of it taking more time. So to be able to do that, it takes restructuring, and I think it's good to do it right now than in the middle of a console launch.
Mm.
It's an
I mean,
interesting read. It gives a lot more context, and it makes sense when you read the article.
mm.
And of
All
course, it's
right,
strange that a
fair.
lot of high people are leaving at Sony. Um, that
That
is still
still irks me
strange.
the wrong
Yeah,
way,
that's
but
still strange.
yeah. All
But
right. I
hey, it
mean,
could
I
be their time. I mean, the people that are leaving have been with the company for more than 20 years. I mean, when Jack Tretton left, I was like, oh no. And then it made complete sense because the guy was at Sony for what, 30 years? Same goes for
mhm.
Andrew Howe. So maybe these people eventually say, like, hey, my time is up. I have had 4 PlayStation launches. I kind of want to do something else. I mean, Peter Moore is now the CEO of Liverpool, which is a soccer football club, and I would never have expected him to do that. And the guy said, well, I'm a big soccer fan and it's a dream job for me. So when they came knocking, I couldn't resist and said, I want to work at Liverpool. So
Yeah.
it's funny because a friend of mine sent a clip the other day of a video of them in the locker room, and he said, "Look closely who you see there." And then I was watching. I was like, "Why am I watching this?" And suddenly I see Peter Moore, and I'm like, "Holy crap, that's Peter Moore!" It felt so strange seeing the guy. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, you're the CEO of Liverpool these days." I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a complete sports nut,
Yeah, man.
so makes
He's.
sense.
Once read online that he's actually a gym teacher, a physical education teacher.
Honestly, I can see that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then if you look where the guy is now, I'm like, hey, you made some big steps in your life, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
that's
So
all for the news, I think.
yeah, that's pretty much it. So stick around, guys, and we'll be right back with what we've been playing.
Alrighty, welcome back to our second segment. What have you been playing? Maximilian, what have you been playing?
Well, it's been a busy week for me, so I haven't played a lot. Um, some little things here and there, mostly Luigi's Mansion 3, which came out a while ago, and on Halloween actually, it came out on Halloween, and suffice to say, it is a very pretty game. I think I've already talked about it before because it came out around the time the last episode recorded. And yeah, it's still a very pretty game. It's really fun to play. The ghosts are weird. Like Luigi himself is just a work of art. And it's just so much fun to walk around with that guy, sucking up ghosts with the ghost vacuum and scaring them and slamming them into one another or into furniture and seeing the furniture shatter. It's amazing. Um, so I've gotten a little bit further. I'm past the halfway point now. But I'm at this ghost boss who has this boss battle that's just really annoying. So I'm taking a little step back from that and re-examining that battle to find the best strategy. But suffice to say, the flow of the game has been really good. Like just um, the feel of flashing a ghost with the strobe light and then sucking them up with the poltergust. It feel like a lot of people have said it also before, and like I didn't realize it until I heard it on another podcast. And Luigi's Mansion is basically a fishing game because the way the mechanics work, you you essentially get you essentially get a ghost on the line, and then you have to reel it in. Or if you get multiple if you suck multiple ghosts up, you reel both of them in at the same time, and you have to hold on to them and basically um, push the analog stick in the opposite direction of the ghost where they're going, exactly like in a fishing game. And then when you max out the charge meter, you can hit A and slam them around, which is a really great metaphor for a fishing game. So it's
Oh,
less ghost busting and more ghost fishing, but really challenging ghost fishing, by the way. So yeah, I mean, it's a really good game. It's a fun game, very smooth, very pretty, as I said before. So I recommend, as always, take at the very least take a look at it. Take a look at it on a live stream or something, because it is also fun to watch just for the animations alone.
I'll probably
Um,
borrow it when you finish it.
That's fine. That's fine. Other than that, I also picked up Smash Brothers Ultimate again because another one of the DLC characters came out, Terry Bogard from the Fatal Fury series, and I have to say he is fun to play. But as some other people would say, he's broken, which is not true. He is not broken. It just needs a little bit of skill to get the most out of this character. I mean, you can still play him as a Smash Brothers character, but they actually incorporated his fighting move repertoire in there, so you can control him as if you were playing Fatal Fury. So all the moves like quarter circle stuff like that, or half circles, pretzel motions, stuff like that. It's all in there, which also powers up your moves. And I gotta say, the presentation that Sakurai-san gave about this character was amazing. I mean, I think I sent you the link, but you haven't watched it. Like the thing is nearly an hour long, and half of it is just dedicated to talking about the origins of Terry Bogard, talking about the origins of the Neo Geo, and talking about the character's move set in Smash, which is astounding. I mean, this guy, like, like, said straight up in that presentation that he was going to use SNK terminology so the younger fans might not understand what he's talking about.
Wow.
Like, that's basically him saying, back in my day, games were a lot more awesome, and this is why they were awesome. And to be fair, the presentation is very convincing. And if you grew up in the 90s, you don't have a problem with what he's saying because you understand what he's saying. So, yeah, I mean, he really dug back in there, man. He even showed off his Neo Geo X, which was this revival console, which was a handheld, kind of like a Switch, like literally kind of like a Switch because it came in this stand that's shaped like the original Neo Geo system, but there are like two USB ports in front of it, and when you flip it open, the portable is in there, but you can put it in and hook it up to the TV so you can play Neo Geo on your TV again.
Wow.
And if you want to take it on the go, you can just take it on the go like a Switch. And that thing came out in 2012. I
Okay.
mean, they don't make them anymore because they stopped making them. But yeah, they kind of like even Sakurai was like they kind of beat Switch to the punch.
Maybe the idea for
Uh,
Switch came from that.
I don't know. Maybe not. I think it's more likely than the logical evolution for the Wii U. But yeah, that was. I mean, he like totally went into it, and the crazy part of that thing was that so all these characters come with a stage and a selection of songs. Mostly, like at most, you'll see about 10 songs with each character. Except for Cloud, he only gets two because Square Enix. I don't know what Square Enix is up to, but whatever. But with this character, they got 50 songs, not just from Fatal Fury or the King of Fighter series, but also from other SNK franchises with like kick ass remixes. So that was, I've just been having fun playing with Terry Bogard, blasting a remix of Psycho Soldier's theme song, and just having a good time. So yeah, I honestly, I didn't think that I would ever change mains because my main characters are Ness and Roy, and I love those characters, and I would never trade them in for anything. But I might need to add Terry Bogard as a third, which is crazy for me, especially since I don't even play competitively. I just play for fun. But yeah, been playing some Smash as well. And then lastly, and this is because it's just recently, I've been playing the new Pokemon game.
Yay!
And there's been a lot of controversy about the Pokemon Sword and Shield. And to that I say I don't care. Like just I don't care. I just want to play Pokemon. I want to catch Pokemon. I want to battle Pokemon. And I want to have fun doing it. And I'm having fun doing it. The game looks beautiful. The story flows, which is really nice because the last game, the story kind of trudged in the beginning. And you can skip a lot of the tutorial stuff if you're not familiar with it. I mean, if you're familiar with it. Like you catch Pokemon before the tutorial for catching Pokemon comes up, and the game just says, "Oh, I see you caught a Pokemon already. I guess I don't have to teach you about catching Pokemon," and you just move on. It's amazing. It's like, wow, you get me, Pokemon. You get me. And I gotta say, a lot of the new Pokemon from the Galar region, they are funky. Like they look super funky, and they have funky names. But then again, that's why I play Pokemon for the weird creatures that they create. Like you're always looking forward to what kind of weird Pokemon are they gonna make, and yeah, they don't disappoint. There are some really weird Pokemon in there. There are also some kind of disappointing designs in there, but I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to spoil it for you. But suffice to say, yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, the flow is really quick. after an hour or so, I was in the wild area, and I got stuck in the wild area. Not because of any kind of game difficulties or anything. I was just so amazed by what the wild area basically is, because it's nothing more than a prototype Pokemon MMO. You can run around, you see the Pokemon around, you can either walk into them or walk in the tall grass and get a random one and catch them, or you can go into what's called a max raid battle, which they admitted that they got inspired by what's it called again? They got inspired by the raid battles in Pokemon Go for that, and I gotta say that was pretty freaking cool. It works really well. It's a four-player thing now. You can either play online or offline. If you're playing offline, you get three other computer characters to play alongside you. Tried that. Not a great way to do max raid battles unless you really want a specific raid Pokemon, and it works literally the same way as in Pokemon Go. So there are fixed spots and there are a fixed amount of Pokemon that appear in these raid dens. Um, and you can go in, you can meet up with other people, you can battle together in a max raid battle, which is really cool. Only one of you can do the whole Dynamaxing thing during that time, but um, it only lasts for 3 turns and then you have to build it up again. But you only have 10 turns before you get kicked out of the battle. Um, and I got my first Gigantamax Pokemon, which is the Gigantamax Butterfree, which is really cool. The other cool thing about the max raid battles is, of course, that you get items whenever you complete one of these battles, when you successfully defeat a Pokemon and catch them. And the crazy thing is that you see the other players when you're online, you see them walking around in the wild area. You can't really talk to them. You can walk up to their avatar and press A, and you'll get a response and you'll get an item from them. But it's not like you're like directly talking to them face to face. Also, since it's an online thing, um, the character models phase into each other in the wild area, so you might accidentally walk through um yeah, you might accidentally walk through like another player, and that's just part of it because they're essentially ghosts, in quotes, like, and like, again, it's like a proto MMO, and you can visit each other's campsites. So if another person has a campsite set up and you see it in the wild area, you can just walk up to it and say, "Hey, hi," and like your Pokemon will interact with one another, and you can cook curry together for you and your Pokemon. Which the curry cooking thing is really handy because if you had a very tough battle, you can set up camp, cook some curry for your Pokemon to heal them from HP, and if you get the right recipe, it'll also cure either any status ailments or replenish their move points, which is super handy. Um, Other than that, yeah, I don't know what to say anymore. Other than I beat the second gym, so I'm on my way to the third gym. Um, and yeah, that's about it. I mean, my focus is now on playing on Pokemon. I want to finish it as soon as possible for two reasons. I want to get to the end stuff because that's where the cool stuff happens. And two, I signed up for the online tournament, and I actually want to give not professional. What's the word I'm looking for? I want to give the competitive scene a try
Okay.
for the first time in years. I've never done it before because to be competitive meant to essentially dedicate half your life to breeding the right Pokemon, which is insane. And with Sword and Shield, they have these new um, quality of life changes that have brought to like raising Pokemon and getting the perfect or close to perfect stats for your Pokemon. So basically, any Pokemon you capture is now a viable competitive Pokemon instead of having specific Pokemon filling those roles.
That
So
makes it accessible.
yeah, so I'm gonna try it and see if what they did actually works and makes it a hell of a lot more fun to be competitive.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's my what you've been playing. What have you been playing, Sean Templar? You told me about something that was interesting,
Or
to say the least.
intense for you.
A bit, maybe.
So I have been playing two games. One of them
Hmm.
is Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and I won't go into the multiplayer because I think I've spoken enough about that.
I mean, I mean, I'm assuming nothing changed since the last time we talked about it and played it.
Well, I mentioned that the multiplayer has more depth this time around, and the higher you rank, the more features or um, options become available to you.
Hmm.
So I was surprised by it in a nice way. I didn't know they had a lot of uh, depth in that way. I only thought it was in like the weapon customization. But they've added layers of keeping it interesting because I think 30 hours in right now into the multiplayer, and I still fire up my PlayStation every night just to play a few rounds. Um, Generally, I don't do that with multiplayer games, besides with Battlefield, for example. So they have all these things in there to keep it interesting. They've recently added a new map for the multiplayer. They keep switching the playlist for the mode. So they try to do keep it interesting for people, and they also throw a lot of patches out there just to fix things such as overpowered weapons, such as shotguns and stuff like that. But mainly, I've played and finished the single player, which was a really fun single player. I always liked the Call of Duty single player, but this one it almost felt like it was inspired by a few Hollywood movies, or it almost felt like I was in a couple of the Hollywood movies that I watched. And they've really captured it well. What I love is that um, so you have a CG kind of, or like, or maybe it's in-engine cutscenes, but they kind of look CG like, but it fits the style of the game. In
Hmm.
between the missions, which are really high quality, really nice, that tie the levels and the stories together. And when the game came, before the game came out, they said they really wanted to aim on the intense level. So the no Russian mission from Modern Warfare 2, where you shoot everybody in the airport, they said
Hmm.
like that's kind of the bar we want to use as, or that's kind of the direction we want to go into with our game, with our levels and our missions. And for some people, it's intense. When you start the single player, you get like a warning, say, "Hey, some of the content might be graphically intense. Are you sure you want to proceed?" Something like that. So, for example, in the early game, you have a mission which is called Piccadilly, which is set in London in Piccadilly,
Hmm.
and you're a an agent for the government of the United Kingdom, and you're tracking a terrorist cell. And then before you know it, you see a van in front of you, and you're trying to sneak up on the van. And then suddenly, the terrorists in the van spot you. They try to race through all the traffic. They suddenly detonate a bomb which was in the van. So they cause a suicide explosion in the middle of Piccadilly. It's super crowded. A lot of people die. And then all of a sudden, all sorts of from terrorists pop up from all sides. They start shooting innocent people. They jump on cars, shoot into the cars, kill people. All the while you're there seeing it happen, which was kind of intense to see. And at that moment, the game kind of, you realize, hey, okay, I can do something about it. So you
Mm.
start taking them down, and you start progressing through the missions. Yeah, you get to know Captain Price, and he says, "Well, I want you on my team. Come follow me." And then you play as three characters in the whole single player. You play as this UK agent who is called, I believe, Kyle. He later turns out to be Gaz, which is a known character from the Call of Duty universe.
Mhm.
You play with Alex, which is a CIA agent who um, creates like supports a rebel faction in the Middle East, which in turn help out the U.S. government. So he's kind of like a liaison for them, and then he fights with them. and then you play as Farah, who is the leader of this rebel organization, who has her history with the Russians because the game is partially set in a country called Uzbekistan, which is a fictional country, and it's kind of like it feels like in real history, for example, the Russians invaded Afghanistan decades ago. It
Yeah.
kind of feels like you're replaying that event because it's a similar kind of country. The Russians also invaded there. In the story, the Russians committed horrible crimes against these people. They gas the people, they kill the people, they separate men from the women, and they kill the men, and they send women and children off to working camps. So you all see that happen. So there's like an emotional reason and connection that you kind of get with the character, and you understand why Farah really hates the Russians because let me take a sip of water there because you find out while you play that you get captured by the Russians and you're in captivity for 20 years and they torture
Yeesh.
you every day. So you go through a lot of stuff in the game, which really kind of shows you why the game is the way it is, or why certain choices are made, or why certain characters hate certain other characters, or you really see the motivation for what they do, and that
Yeah.
really kind of makes it better instead of just a simple shooter game in which you are a U.S. soldier. These people form a threat against national security or for the greater American blah 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 stuff. So that generally you're like a soldier on the front lines just killing everybody with no reason. And here you kind of do see a lot of background and a lot of reasons why. There isn't even a mission, for example, which was really heavy because you play as a baby Farah or like a younger Farah, and then she gets trapped under a collapsed building because of a Russian MiGs bombing a city. And then you're stuck, you're trying to wiggle out, and then you use the triggers, and then suddenly you pull your arm towards you, and then rubble falls away, and you see the dead body of your mother in front of you who got crushed in the rubble. And when you look really closely, you see a tear dropping from the eye of your mother, and she's looking you straight in the eyes, and she's sitting there dead in front of you, which can be pretty confronting because you don't expect that to happen. You pull your arm away, rubble falls, and suddenly it's kind of like a jump scare, and you see a dead body in front of you. And yeah, it's a game, but it's still pretty intense to see that.
Yeah.
And then, for example, you get freed from the rubble. You go to your home. A Russian soldier invades your home. You see your father struggling with that Russian soldier. Your father gets shot in front of you, and
Oof.
then there's this mission that in the house you're trying to stay hidden from the Russian soldier, but at the same time you're trying to kill the Russian soldier as a little kid. And you have your brother who was also small and gets knocked out, and eventually you just find a screwdriver or a knife, and you stab the Russian soldier. You run away, you grab the knife again, you stab him, and then eventually you just kill the Russian soldier as a little kid, which is again pretty intense because you generally don't do that in games. Um,
Yeesh.
yeah, so I get the part that they said that no Russian is kind of the bar we want to keep for all the missions. We want to That's kind of our outline. Um, so yeah, it's pretty intense. It's again, it's a really cool single player. There's a mission that you capture one of the enemies, and then you go to the embassy, and then you have to hold the embassy, and then suddenly the embassy gets attacked by his followers. It kind of feels like the Michael Bay movie, what was it called, something something Benghazi, which was a movie that came out last year.
Mm.
In that they also kind of have to defend an embassy sort of place, and they get attacked by local militia. The movie's called 13 Hours: The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi, and it literally feels like they took scenes from that movie and they made a game out of it, which was pretty cool because you're surrounded by all these enemies. There's waves of enemies that come at you. You're in the dark. You don't have night vision. Suddenly, you throw a flare into a mortar. It gets shot up in the air, and then it lights up in a field in front of you. And suddenly, all the enemies are there. They start shooting. You have drones at your availability, so you can call in drone strikes. It really felt like I was part of that movie, and I did like the movie at the time when I watched it.
Hmm.
So they have also done the cinematic part around the single player. Again, it's just that people might find the single player a bit too intense.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, just listening to it, man. Oof.
I don't know if it's
Sounds
your
sounds
kind of
sounds
game.
sounds pretty raw, man. Sounds pretty
Yeah,
raw.
it is. It is. I mean, there's a part where you're kept in captivity as Farah, and then you're getting tortured by this Russian general. And then
Mm.
there's another woman that's also in captivity, and then you're getting waterboarded. So you have to move your head around and try to breathe to make sure that you don't die because of the waterboarding. And
Whoa.
yeah, and then he's interrogating you, and then he says, "You can either save her life or you can kill her. And if you want to save her life, just tell me who the leader of the resistance is, or who the leader of the rebels is." And then you get dialogue options, and you can choose what you want to say. And then eventually he says, "Okay, I'm going to kill her right now, or you tell me who the leader of the rebellion is." And then you can answer again, and then he just shoots her in front of your eyes in the head, and I'm like, okay, this is pretty heavy. I did not expect this to happen.
Dang. Ooh. Ooh. Okay. Yeah, that's a bit intense. A
Yeah,
lot of
even though it's
intense,
a game,
actually.
it's still pretty intense.
That's a lot of intense.
Yeah, I know. Um, Besides Modern Warfare, I have started playing Link's Awakening. I'm not in that
Yay.
far, but I'm really enjoying it. As you said, it really looks like this beautiful
Diorama.
diorama
Ah,
game. It
yes.
looks really cute, and it's fun. I still have to figure out how it works and kind of how what I need to go. I'm like really in the beginning. I'm in the forest where you meet the squirrel, and if you talk to him or you try to go through the mist, he kind
Oh,
of
that's not a squirrel. That's a tanuki.
yeah, it looked like a squirrel to me. He mixes you up and then he drops you somewhere else, and yeah, I'm right there, so I don't know, I kind of don't know what to do, so I'm just gonna have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I like it. As you said, it doesn't take a lot of time to finish.
Nah.
And I think I started playing the game at the wrong time because there's a lot of stuff either coming out or that has come out.
Hmm.
Um, so I made a start on that. I will definitely continue that. But for the people that listened to our last episode, I did something really impulsive, and I live pre-ordered Pokemon Shield, and it came in yesterday.
Yeah,
So I've also been playing that. It's been, I think, the last Pokemon I played was Pokemon Red on the Game Boy, and I haven't touched the Pokemon game after that.
that was 20 years ago.
That's 20 years ago. So
Well, you're, yeah. I mean, there's another guy who hasn't played like properly played a Pokemon game since 2003. So you're not
yeah,
alone.
yeah. Yeah, I'm 1 hour and 45 minutes in. I'm at the first big city, Morosuke.
Yeah, you've gone past the wild
Yeah,
area.
I've gone past the wild area. I like it so far. In the beginning, it was a little bit of a slow start for me, but I think that's normal because the game has to ease you into it.
Hmm.
Um, I try to catch every new Pokemon I see just because I haven't really learned all the Pokemon's his weaknesses and area and strengths, such as, for example, a fire Pokemon is good against a blah 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 Pokemon, and an ice Pokemon is good against a la 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 Pokemon. I don't really know all those differences just yet,
Yeah,
so
but
that's why I'm
but
trying to build like a
but they start you
diverse.
off teaching you that from the get go with the starter Pokemon.
Yeah, so I have uh,
Which one did you pick?
what's it called? Scorbunny? What was it?
Score Bunny.
Scorbunny? That one?
Okay, all
Yeah, I have
right,
Scorbunny.
okay.
Which one did you have?
Grookey, man. I
Grookey?
always go with the grass type.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
took the
man.
fire
Grookey
type.
squad.
Yeah,
Not Grookey squad. Grookey gang.
I took the bunny. It was the I thought he looked
I,
funny.
dang it! I brought him upstairs. So my copy of Pokemon Shield came with an actual plushie of the Pokemon that's my starter, Grookey.
Oh, that's cool.
Super adorable.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Ah, I kind of wish I had that too. Oh.
Oh well.
Anyways, so
So
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
you
so
took Score Bunny.
yeah,
Cool.
and
Well, that's the fire type.
I try to catch at least all the Pokemons that I don't have yet that I see for the first time because
Mm-hmm.
I want to build a diverse roster of Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And yeah, I like the RPG mechanic side of it. It just levels your characters, even of your Pokemon, even though you don't. For example, if you just catch a Pokemon, it gives you XP, so they level up.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
That was a feature that you could manually turn on and off in later games, but
yeah,
now it's like a permanent thing.
that's nice. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that part. I like the part that you can sneak in the grass so you don't get into those random encounters all the time because that's really annoying if that happens.
Yeah, but here's the thing, the random encounters you can also still avoid.
Yeah, you can run away from it, but it's easier if I can just slowly sneak past it. Yeah, I am still getting used to it again because yeah, it's been a while since I've played Pokemon.
Yeah.
I like
Did you catch the fox Pokemon Nickit?
yeah, I got that one. Yeah,
That one is so weird.
yeah,
He
it's
looks
the
like a
weird
little
tail.
thief.
Yeah,
Yeah, the tail is like dirty because he uses it to brush away his tracks.
yeah, yeah. I like that part about the
Like, how
Pokédex. And if you
sneaky of
catch,
a creature can you be? Like, oh, I just stole something. Let me use my bushy tail to cover my tracks.
hey, that's a
Dang, man,
smart
I would be
animal.
afraid
That's
of,
a smart
like, if there
Pokemon.
was like if murder existed in the Pokemon world, he would be the first that Pokemon would be the first suspect.
I think
Like, if
so.
there were
Yeah,
no tracks,
definitely.
but there's
Yeah.
like a dead Pokemon, you're like, Nickit did it. He
Yeah.
did it with his bushy tail.
Yep, yep. I like that part too. That if you catch a new Pokemon, for example, the Pokédex kind of gives you like a brief story, some
Yeah.
fun facts about the Pokemon, and it shows you like their wares. I don't really get how, for example, when you level your Pokemon, they learn new skills, and then you can replace old skills. For example,
Hmm.
I really don't know the real differences. Like, for example, I try to compare it, and it then, for example, says power, and I don't know for sure if power is how many times I can use it or the damage that it
Ah,
does.
no, that is the damage percentile. It is. So it's all in percentile. So
Okay.
basically, if the power says it's 10, so then it's basically 10% of the max power that your Pokemon has.
Okay.
That's the damage that it does.
Yeah, I didn't know that part. And
Um,
then there's accuracy, and that's probably how likely the attack is to succeed or something.
yeah, but that directly affects their accuracy stats. So the Pokemons have their own stats,
Yeah.
attack, defend, accuracy, special attack, special defense, and
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah.
So based on that, on those attributes, that's how strong your Pokemon is. So, um, the thing that's also important to look at is it'll show what category it is, but it's not a word; it's a sign.
Mhm.
So it's either like um, this spiky speech bubble,
Yeah.
which means that it's a physical attack,
Yeah.
or it's this ripple kind of thing, like multiple circles,
Yeah.
and that is a special attack.
Okay, that's good.
So special attacks negate any physical attributes.
Mm.
So that's an important thing to take away from that. And physical attacks means that the Pokemon is directly attacking another Pokemon, like punching them. So that means that if the Pokemon they're attacking has a special ability, like say static, if as soon as a Pokemon touches them, the Pokemon that touched them gets paralyzed.
Okay.
So that's like it has like layers. I mean, you don't need to learn all this stuff to enjoy the game,
Yeah, because I
but
enjoyed already, and it only gets me
exactly,
curious to learn more about it, so I can probably enjoy it more.
yeah,
So that's why I like that it's not overwhelming. It
yeah,
eases you in, which I really like. Because with sometimes with these games, I'm always afraid it kind of overwhelms me. And in this case, it fortunately doesn't. Um, I am kind of in a tricky spot because I want to buy Death Stranding, but I don't want to pay the full $60 for it.
oh boy,
Yeah, so I saw a deal at Game Mania. So if I trade in two games, I can buy it for $25. I was about to do that, and I thought, well, let me just wait for Black Friday. You never know what's going to happen there.
mm-hmm,
And today I also got my copy in of Jedi Fallen Order, Star Wars. So
mm-hmm.
I'm literally I have so many games right now that I want to play and that I need to play that I'm kind of overwhelmed with what I'm going to play.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like, I bring my Switch with me at least where I go, so I can play Pokemon on the go. But at the
Hmm.
same time, after this recording, if we're done recording, I'm gonna start Star Wars because I just really want to play that. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I'm like, yeah, but I also started Link's
I'm pretty sure
Awakening,
people
so
also
I
want to
kind of
hear about what you think about it. So.
yeah, yeah. So it's so like the whole year's been really quiet, and then these last few weeks is like bum
Everything
bum bum
gets
bum 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 bum,
that gets loaded into the rear. Yeah.
And you
Isn't
know
that
me,
fun?
yeah, I've been the whole year I've been screaming, oh, it's a gap here, it's a gap here, and all of a sudden
It's the
it's
holiday season.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and then I still need to finish Gears 4. I still need to finish Gears 5. I still want to play Three Kingdoms, and I think I have a holiday coming up soon. Well, like I
Mm.
have a week off, so I think I'm just gonna lock myself up, and then I'm just gonna play as much as I can and try to finish as much as I can, and then do kind of like a bonus extravaganza game rivals. What did Sean Templar finish episode in which I talk 30 minutes about what I played?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh
man.
well.
Oh well.
Yeah, that's what I have been playing. So yeah.
Cool. Well, that was we. Yeah, I guess between us, we played a lot of games,
Yeah.
and we actually played a game to the same game together. So,
Yeah.
well, not together, but yeah. Cool. So stick around, guys, and we'll be right back with our hidden gems.
Oh yeah.
And we're back with our hidden gems.
Oh my god.
So, Sean Templar, what is your hidden gem?
My hidden gem is a game called Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So, some people might know that I'm a fan of the Assassin's Creed franchise. I've almost played them all, except the one that I don't know which one it's called. It's the one that plays in Constantinople. So that's the third game in the Ezio trilogy.
Oh,
So
not
you
Brotherhood.
had Assassin's Creed 2, you had Brotherhood,
Revelations.
Revelations. Yeah, so that's the only
Yeah.
one I haven't played, or at least finished. But besides that, I've played them all. And if I was talking about this with a colleague today, and he said like, yeah, I've played them all, but I think the one I like the most is Black Flag. And then I thought about it, like, yeah, I think I like that one the most as well because um, it's the first game I played on the PlayStation 4, and it
Mhm.
was also the first game that I went to Gamescom the year that the PlayStation 4 came out, and it was the first game I got to play there on the PS4, and I was so amazed by how pretty it looked and by how expansive the game was, because I remember that at the time they were really focusing on that it's seamless, so that for people that don't know, in Assassin's Creed 4, you're a pirate and you get into a fight with an assassin and you kill the assassin who you're stranded on with an island, and then you take his identity and you try to pass as an assassin. Little do you know that this assassin is actually defecting to the Templar Order, so that you're actually helping the bad guys initially, and you kind of try to bluff your way through. Um, and before you know it, you're deep in this conspiracy with the Templars trying to overthrow and control the Caribbean, because the game is set in the Caribbean. Um, and at the time, they were really emphasizing how seamless the game was. So, for example, early on in the game, you get your own ship, and you can upgrade your ship along the way. And you can, for example, just randomly stop, jump out of your ship, and then go across land or board other ships or go in a diving expedition. And all of this was seamless. And for that time, it was something pretty new and exciting, because before that, games were always plagued with load times. You had a loading screen every time. What's also cool is that the games was really colorful. The locations were really exotic and really really beautiful. You had this huge map. You could sail across the whole map. There were a few big cities such as Nassau, who you could go to. There were a lot of these small islands that were sometimes kind of like in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, these treasure islands that you could dig up a treasure, or you would randomly find a treasure map which would literally say X marks the spot, and it would kind of give you like this vague picture of where it could be. Um, and the fun part is if you played Assassin's Creed 3,
Mm-hmm.
you were Hathan Kenway, I believe the character's name was called.
Mm-hmm.
And in 4 you play as his father, Edward Kenway. So
Yeah.
you're the grandfather of Connor, which is
Connor.
the
Yeah.
the Native American protagonist you play with in the later of the Assassin's Creed game. Um, and the funny thing is um, for example, Edward is like a real pirate, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I don't care. I just want to be the greatest pirate of them all." Whereas is a real gentleman, and he's really sophisticated and educated. So it's funny to see that contrast. That like the one is an outlaw, and the other one is a real gentleman.
Yeah.
Um, you also get a lot of backstory, and you kind of see why and how the characters in 3 turn out the way they are. At the time, it was also pioneering on the ship combat mechanics. They did kind of like that in
The
Assassin's Creed
naval
3.
combat.
The
Yeah.
naval combat, yeah, they did a little bit of it in 3, and they really expanded on it in 4.
Well, that was honestly the best part of 3 was the naval combat,
Yeah,
and people really gravitated to that. And Ubisoft probably saw that and was like, "Oh, people like that.
yeah.
Maybe we should expand upon it." So
The
they
the
made
funny thing
Black
is
Flag.
after Black Flag, they went even further, and they now have a game in development, if it's ever going to come out, which is called Skull and
Skull
Bones,
and Bones.
which is basically Assassin's Creed 4 ship combat, but then souped up or to the max, and it looks fun if it's ever going to come out. Who knows? But they did keep the naval combat in it because in Origins and in Odyssey, naval combat is there as well. Um, just yeah, like it all makes sense. Black Flag. You could attack fortresses and then take them over. You could a lot of around it was based on plundering. You really wanted that pirate's life. It sometimes really felt like you were in this Pirates of the Caribbean movie because you also in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies you heard about certain characters such as Blackbeard. I believe he was called, and turns out that Blackbeard becomes one of your allies, and you kind of get like all these historical figures that you hear about. You kind of meet them, and they turn out to be your friends. And it was also one of the first Assassin's Creed games in which the animus wasn't that of a big part of the game. And I personally don't like the whole animus part. If it was up to me, I would say just kill the whole part around the animus, just make it a historical game, and skip the whole part around the animus with ancestors and DNA because it just
Yeah.
doesn't work for me. And it was one of those first games that really didn't force you into the animus constantly, and it was more like
You mean force you out of it?
force you out of it. Yeah, because it was more like a small addition to the game. Whereas with previous Assassin's Creed, you would just get into it, and just when you're into it, it would take you out, and then it would force you into this stupid animus section. And luckily, in the Assassin's Creed games after that, they slowly started to do that even more and more. That you're using less parts of the animus, which is really nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, the game also got a an expansion called Assassin's Creed Freedom Cry, which was
Oh.
you have a first mate on the when you're in your ship, and he was a slave, so you kind of play with him, and he's kind of like also an assassin. You get more background story around him, and there was also a game called Assassin's Creed Liberation, which
Yeah.
was a PS Vita game, and it had some tie-in with Black Flag, so you could also sync progress across both games, which would unlock things in both games. You could also get
Ah. Okay.
the some skins and weapons, things like that. So it was some cross play kind of thing going on there. The
Okay.
game's
Now it makes sense
yeah,
because this year they announced that they were remaking those games into a bundle.
yeah, for the
So
Switch,
it
I
makes
believe,
sense
right?
that, huh?
For the Switch, right?
Not just for not just for the Switch.
No, I thought it was
No, I
just
don't
coming to the
think so.
Switch. Ah,
Is it? I don't know.
I don't
I
know.
don't remember. I know that it was announced for the Switch, but I think it's multi-platform
Okay.
because it would be weird if it was just Switch.
Yeah. The funny thing is after Assassin's Creed Black Flag, they came out with Unity, which was the one set in the French Revolution, which
Hmm.
was a complete mess from a technical point of view. The game really ran poorly, and they really spent a lot of time after launch patching the game to get it to a stable form. And then even
And
then,
the
it
only
was
saving grace for that is that it had the most detailed version of Notre Dame. So
yeah,
after
yeah,
that one burned down, well, not completely burned down, but when the fire happened, they're like, "Oh, how are we going to rebuild it?" Well, here we have like the exact replica of it as close as possible.
yeah.
It's like the only like redeeming factor of that game. Please take it. No,
Yeah,
no, okay,
because
not
I remember.
I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding,
Yeah,
of course. But a lot of effort is put into the Assassin's Creed games into getting it as accurate as
yeah,
possible,
historically
which
accurate. Yeah,
astounds me to like know that that is a thing that they do, and I applaud them for doing it. Like
yeah,
every game, they get stuff just like so right. It's
yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, it's cool to see the attention to detail.
It's like a
Uh,
history buff's like
yeah,
dream
and
come
they
true.
even took it a step further when they came out with Origins. There is a separate mode in Origins. I don't remember what the name is called, but it's kind of like an explorer mode where combat is
Yeah,
turned
yeah, yeah.
off, and you can
Mm,
just browse through the whole game and kind of like get this museum tour and just discover Egypt
yeah.
without any combat involved. So you can just learn stuff if you want to, because there's so much historical information and accuracy in there that if you want to go out and discover or explore a pyramid, you can just do that, which is a really cool feature to add to a game. I don't know if a lot of people use it. The fact that they add something like this to the game is
Means
just
that they're proud
amazing.
of the research that they did, and they
Yeah,
should be.
yeah,
Like seriously,
yeah,
if there's any takeaway from the Assassin's Creed franchise in general, is that the research and the work that got into getting it as accurate as possible and still make it a viable game world is like the most commendable thing you can give them, regardless of
yeah,
like technical snafus that happen,
yeah.
like technical glitches and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. The sad part was that after Black Flag, the Assassin's Creed franchise kind of went downhill with Unity and then Syndicate. I
Syndicate.
was really hoping for Syndicate to be this all amazing game, and it didn't really feel like it. And then they because until that point they came out with an Assassin's Creed game every year, and then after that they took a 2 year break and then came out with Origins. And the cool part around Origins is, and I've said it before, is that it felt like an Assassin's Creed meets The Witcher. It was more RPG. The combat was different. They took away the counter system because sometimes that system did make the game too easy for combat. Um, they added a lot more RPG mechanics. It basically felt like The Witcher in a different skin, which I don't mind, to be honest. Sometimes it's good that they steal it good, then copy it bad. It's kind of like a bad translation of a Dutch saying. But I like it that they did it that way, and then they continued that with Odyssey, and I loved Odyssey. And hopefully we'll get a new Assassin's Creed game next year. And there are rumors that it might be either a Viking Assassin's Creed or maybe a Asian themed Assassin's Creed, either in China or hopefully in Japan, because I firmly believe the samurai era would be a perfect fit for Assassin's Creed with
Oof.
ninjas and stuff like that, and samurai and I don't know, seppuku or ronins and warlords. That would be the most ideal setting. But there are also whispers around the Roman setting that would also be amazing. So
Haven't they
hopefully
done
you'll be
that before
surprised.
though?
No,
No. Okay.
yeah, I
For
mean,
some
like,
reason, I thought they did.
kind of give us like a gladiator kind of like Assassin's Creed. Oh my god, that would be so amazing.
All
But yeah, that's my hidden gem.
right. Awesome. Yeah. I actually owned Black Flag on Wii U, believe it or not, like
That game
digitally.
came out on Wii U.
Yeah, it did. I mean, it
Oh,
was the
wow.
last Assassin's Creed that came out on a Nintendo system until the remakes of three. So
I saw that they brought out Assassin's Creed Rogue, which is the when Black Flag came out on the PS4. They also did Rogue, which came out only on the previous
Vita.
gen consoles.
All right,
And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in Rogue, you are an assassin that turns on the assassin order, joins the Templars, and then hunts down all the assassins. And I never got to play that game because it was on PS3, and I just stopped playing PS3 games. But I saw that it got remastered for PS4, so I still have that on my list to pick it up and play it because I am kind of curious how that plays off, or
Hmm.
plays out.
All right, interesting, interesting. Well, my hidden gem is more a cover of a series of games, and when I say series, it's just two games, but basically, it's also related to what I've been playing. It's a spin-off of Pokemon called Pokemon Pinball. Now, the original Pokemon Pinball released on the Game Boy Color. It was a Game Boy Color exclusive. And the cool thing about this is that the cartridge that they used for Pokemon Pinball had a rumble feature in it. So whenever you hit the flippers, or whenever you triggered like a ball lock, or what have you, or it hit a bumper, the whole system vibrated, which is really cool because I think it's like apart from Pokemon, no, not Pokemon. Apart from I think Kirby's Tilt and Tumble, it was one of the first Game Boy cartridges to have a rumble feature in it,
Wow.
which is really cool.
I
And
kind of think I remember how that looked. It looked kind of weird at the time.
yeah, it's honestly one of the best video pinball games that I've played overall. I mean, the best video pinball games are now made by Zen. They have like amazing tables, by the way. Like if you own any kind of gaming system out there, pick up a Zen pinball game. Doesn't matter which one. They're all pretty good. But Pokemon Pinball was unique, not just because it's a Pokemon spin-off, but that it played as well as it did. Now, the Game Boy Color screen was not that big. It's a 144p screen, so it's like tiny. But the way that the Pokemon Pinball games worked is that whenever the ball went higher, it switches cameras to the upper part of the system,
Yeah.
and you can continue playing there. So they have like extra flippers there that you can use sometimes, depending on which board, because the board is based on Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. So you can choose either red or blue
On Team Red.
whenever you
Woo!
play. And the cool thing is, it's a pinball game, but it's also a Pokemon game, which means you get the opportunity to catch Pokemon in a pinball machine, which is a really cool aspect because you have to trigger that event
Mm-hmm.
by going through, some obstacles, hitting a bunch of targets multiple times, and then it triggers the catch mechanic.
Yeah.
You can catch the Pokemon in the game itself. You can upgrade the pinball, which is an actual Pokeball, by
I
going
was
through
about to
other
ask that. Yeah.
obstacles. So it starts off as a regular Pokeball, then you upgrade it, and it upgrades to a Great Ball, which is the next level, and then you can upgrade it a third time to an Ultra Ball.
Ooh.
So the better the Pokeball, the better the multiplier when you catch the Pokemon.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, you have a better Pokeball, so it's easier to catch the Pokemon. The level of difficulty to catch the Pokemon is the same. The Pokemon appears in the middle of the board, and you have to hit it with the Pokeball 3 times.
Hmm.
And if you've played pinball, you know how challenging it can be to hit targets on a pinball table.
I
So-
only played pinball on I don't know what it's called, Microsoft Pinball or something like that. You like had it on Windows XP or something.
Oh no, that wasn't Microsoft Pinball. That was
Or I don't know what it's called, but I hated it because I sucked at it.
I literally just saw it on a top 5 list
Really?
like a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot. Ah, dang it! I think it was called Space Pinball
Something
3D.
like that. Yeah, I was so
Yeah,
bad at it.
yeah.
I like the sounds when you
Oh, that
like
one
you
was
put.
so much fun. It
Yeah,
wasn't a great pinball table, like a video pinball table, but it
yeah.
was so much fun.
Yeah, I know. Like when you got it in some way, it would make this launching sound, and it really sounded cool. But I was
Yeah.
terrible at it. But it's fun to hear that this Pokemon pinball game isn't as simple as it sounds. Like I
No,
would expect it
it
to
has
be
a
a pinball
challenge
game
to
with
it.
a Pokemon skin on it, but based on what I'm hearing, like, hey, this might actually sound fun.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that once you capture Pokemon, depending on what Pokemon you capture, you can even during said match. By the way,
Yeah.
you have to have the Pokemon during that play session, otherwise you can't do this next feature, and that is evolve the Pokemon.
Not
So the
what?
Pokemon that you can evolve, you can actually trigger evolutions for them during that play session,
Whoa, that's cool.
which is really cool. And it has a complete Pokedex. So the all the 150, well, not all, I don't think all 150 Pokemon are in there, but it does have a Pokedex. So other than like getting a top score, the other goal is to fill your Pokedex with Pokemon.
Wow.
Yeah,
Who
so
would have
Pokemon
thought?
Red has like exclusive Pokemon to it.
Yeah.
Pokemon Blue has exclusive Pokemon to it. And you can the other cool thing is that just like regular Pokemon,
Yeah.
you travel, which means you start off in Pallet Town,
Oh,
you can
Pallet
move to
Town.
another area to like for example Pewter City or Viridian Forest, and that's always triggered randomly,
Yeah.
but you do have to trigger the travel sequence.
Huh.
And then a timer goes off, and if you don't get the ball, the Pokeball to the center of the table where the gate lies,
Yeah.
you don't get to travel to the next area.
Oh.
And every area has Pokemon exclusive to it. So that you have to you have to trigger like the travel sequence as well. It's really deep.
Why is this a hidden gem? I mean, like, I kind of get it because it has.
Because just like everything Pokemon does as on the side,
Yeah.
it's on the side. You know, it's
Yeah.
not made by Game Freak. It's made by Jupiter and Hall Laboratory, the first one. The second game was made by Jupiter.
Okay.
And if anybody knows the developer Jupiter, they're mostly known for the Picross series of games. So unless you're a big fan of Picross, you literally don't know who the developer is.
Mm-hmm.
And they only made another game in the series. That's why I'm saying it's a 2-series game, which is on Game Boy Advance, which is, of course, Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire. Same
Okay.
mechanics, except now the camera doesn't like jarringly switch between the upper and lower half of the screen.
Yeah.
It just has a camera that follows the pinball
Okay.
throughout the entire board, which is really cool.
Nice.
Yeah. And honestly, Ruby and Sapphire, I did not like the Ruby board because it's way more challenging.
Yeah.
Like it's a fine board. It's just way more challenging to catch Pokemon in.
Mm.
Like the Sapphire board was way easier. The same thing actually goes for the original Pokemon Pinball game. The Pokemon Red board was easier to catch Pokemon on than. No, sorry, I'm saying that wrong. The red one was more difficult to catch Pokemon on than on Blue because on the red board they had this stupid Ditto covering up like the gate that gets you that triggers like the specific events.
Mm-hmm.
So like triggering catching Pokemon or evolving a Pokemon or triggering the move to another area. It was so annoying. Like it's stupid. Like smile is there and it's like hello. Oh, you missed it. Time's up. I'm blocking it now.
Oh, that sounds really annoying.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't talk, but you can imagine it in your head when you're just seeing that stupid diddle face.
When it sounds like what you just made us hear, it sounds awful and terrible, and I never want to experience that.
Well, it's a good thing that Pokemon, at least in the series, only say their name. So
That's good. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. If you can, I mean, the only downside is I don't think that Pokemon Pinball. I think like the original Pokemon Pinball might be on the virtual console on 3DS, but since the 3DS never supported Game Boy Advance, it's not on there. It is. Get this. Actually, I don't. Actually, no. Don't take my word for this. Because I'm not 100% sure. So let me do a quick spot check before I say something that is not true. But it
Oh,
is. It's on the Virtual Console on Wii U. So if you, for whatever reason, still have a Wii U hooked up to the internet, you can get Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire on there.
happy days.
Happy days indeed. But I think that one did not support Rumble. No, wait, it did. It did because if you hooked up the Pokemon Pinball Ruby and Sapphire on the Game Boy player on your GameCube, Rumble is supported.
Hmm.
Yeah.
On this, while we're on the subject of Pokemon, I have a question I need to ask you.
Sure.
In Pokemon Shield or Sword or whatever, there is a Charizard there.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a Pokemon can we catch a Charmander and evolve it, or is it just a Pokemon we can see? Because I'm hearing conflicting stories.
I don't. I don't know. I honestly like. There were leaks from Pokemon Sword and Shield, and I was really pissed off, and I avoided it as much as possible. Unfortunately, one Pokemon did get spoiled for me. But other than that, I haven't been paying attention to the rumors.
Okay.
But I feel that if because you're talking about the champions Charizard,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel that if the Pokemon is no, yeah, well, you should be able to do that because you can actually get a Gigantamax Charizard. So I think you can get a Charmander.
Okay.
Where exactly, I don't know. It could just be like a raid battle thing.
Yeah.
But like I mean, you're like an hour in. I'm only 5 hours in.
There's a big difference.
So I mean, still, but I'm still early on in the game. I only beat 2 gyms. I'm only working my way now to the third gym. There's like 5 more to beat.
I
So
haven't beaten the gym at all, but hey, who's counting, right?
don't worry about it. Like as soon as you start the gym challenge, like it goes pretty quickly. Like I beat the first gym, and like within a half hour or so, I beat the second gym. So
Okay.
yeah. So I think like if you stick to like the story route, it goes quickly. But I like to meander in the wild area, so it might not go as quickly. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't. I think you can catch Charmanders. I
We'll
mean, it
just
would
have
be
to wait
weird
and
if you couldn't, since you can have a Charizard in the game.
okay.
So, like, you literally can have a Charizard in the game. So,
That's
I
good.
think that's possible.
That's what I wanted to know.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah, no problem. All right, so that was my hidden gem. That means we have come to the end of another gaming filled episode, and this one was a lot of filled. So, but we had fun. We had some fun stuff to talk about, some less fun stuff to talk about, but in general, we had fun talking about it. So yeah, thank you guys for listening to another episode. You can always catch us on any podcasting service: Apple Podcast, the Google Play Store, Spotify, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcast. You can catch us there. You can also catch us on our home on Anchor. If you want to contact us, we have a Twitter, which is at game underscore rivals underscore. You can catch me on Twitter at Maximilian. You can send us feedback through our email, which is gamerivalsfeedback at gmail.com. You can also leave us a voice message, which we have a link in the description. You don't need an Anchor account to do it. You just click on the link, send us a voice message, and hey, maybe we'll feature you on one of our future episodes. We'd love to feature some of you guys. We know you guys are listening there and love the show, and we are absolutely grateful for that. You can also catch us on YouTube. I'll put the link into the description, so you can just click on that. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll be posting more and more content as we go along. Um, we also have, as I said at the top of this episode, a survey. So please fill that in. We've been getting more reactions, and we are very grateful for that. The more feedback we get from you guys, the more we know what you guys want, so that we can get this podcast to be the best podcast it can be, for you guys, and for us to also make. We enjoy making this podcast for you guys. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. Sean Templar, do you have anything else to add?
I think you covered it all. I just realized that we're coming up to our 1 year anniversary almost, and time
Mm-hmm.
has
It's
passed.
getting there.
Yeah, I mean, it time has passed so fast. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh wow, it's almost 1 year,
Mm-hmm.
and I just I'm just amazed. I mean, we've done, at least it feels like we've done a lot of episodes.
Yeah. I mean,
Uh,
this is officially number 24, but we've also had a bunch of bonus episodes in
yeah,
between.
yeah, and I'm
So,
just I can't wait to start on year two.
mm-hmm. Me neither.
Yeah, it's
It's gonna
just
be a like year two. I mean, we're going into 2020. We have like the new system launch is coming in holiday 2020. 2020 is gonna be big regardless.
yeah, it's gonna
So
be
I
an
mean,
amazing
the
year for gaming, and hopefully also an
PlayStation
amazing
4 and
year for us.
Xbox One are going out with a bang.
Yeah,
Um,
Last of
the
Us,
the the,
woo!
the Switch is going to I mean, the Switch already hit its stride, but it's going into its third year, no, sorry, its fourth year of hitting its stride. So
Maybe we'll get a Switch Pro finally.
yeah, who knows? I mean, I doubt it, but who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah, but we're gonna get a lot of things that we get to cover, and hopefully we'll be able also be able to attend a lot of events that we can cover for you guys as well. So yeah. um Oh, one more thing that I wanted to leave you guys with before we sign off. For especially for our fans living in Europe and especially in the Netherlands, um, on November 23rd, which is the coming weekend that's coming up, is Dutch Comic Con in Utrecht. If you don't have a ticket yet, I hope you did, because those things sold out really quickly. But if you're listening to this and you're attending Dutch Comic Con, I, Maximilian X, will be there, just walking around, um, handing out cards to promote the show. And yeah, hopefully, if you see me, you can't miss me. I'll be wearing a Cappy hat, from Super Mario Odyssey. So if you see me with the Cappy hat, come by, say hi. Um, and yeah, let's talk about video games and other nerdy stuff. So that's it from us this week. This has been Maximilian X,
and Sean Templar.
and we'll see you guys next time.